Good morning, folks. Gosh, look at this beautiful bank. Look how beautiful. Do you know how many people live all their life and they have never seen a bank this beautiful? Or if you live in Nebraska, Iowa, even Illinois, when have you seen a bank like this? Never. Folks, this bank might be the most beautiful thing you see in this video, because this lake has nothing but 6-inch bluegill, if that. Some of them are 5-inch. But I love fishing it because there is plenty of beds. Nobody fishes for bluegill here, and when you find a good sized bed, you can park and just have a blast. And with this tackle that I'm using, folks, this rod is the Graphite Leader Beleza UX, not the prototype, the UX. I already made a few videos with this rod. This rod, folks, those of you that are looking for eradicator, this is like a cheap eradicator. The action, the bend, the fun when you fight the fish, very much reminiscent of eradicator. Now the guides are heavier. The blank is not as carbony, but somehow with this ester line, I see no loss of sensitivity. Okay, I don't want to say it's the same. Anyway, you're gonna have to wait for the review, but sensitivity is still amazing. It is still amazing, as long as you have ester line at least. But the power is super ultralight. So I'm gonna cast here. I have maybe, I don't know, let me show you how many holes is this. Maybe 15, 71 degrees water temp. But this bank is full. It is just full of little beds. There is no mega beds unless you find a cove. But it's full of little beds, so we're gonna catch 10-15 fish here. We're gonna move. We're gonna catch 10-15 fish over there and just enjoy the fact that we are healthy and alive, and that our family is healthy and alive. And you know, I can afford to go fishing. There is a lot of things to appreciate, folks. Trust me, life can always get, you think life is bad sometimes, but it can get worse. And you gotta learn to appreciate life today. You can still work on improving everything, but if you don't appreciate what you have today, life is just gonna pass by and you're never gonna appreciate anything. Let me tell you, the pleasure that I got from fishing, if you could measure pleasure and excitement objectively, let's say there is a machine that can measure the amount of serotonin and dopamine that is released in your bloodstream as a result of fishing excitement. Which is true. When you're happy, your body releases serotonin and dopamine and makes you happy. That's how your brain rewards you for things that it wants you to do again. If you could objectively measure my excitement and joy from fishing, the joy that I had in Bulgaria, fishing literally with wooden fishing rods, without fishing reels. The only thing we would do is, because we still have to cast, but these Russian reels were so heavy. One Russian reel could weigh 2 pounds. And that's like a mid-size reel, because they were not made of aluminum. Them Russian reels was made of steel, folks. They were made of, those dolphins were made of steel. The same steel that they used to make the tanks. Have some leftover steel, screw it, make a few fishing reels from it. Those were too heavy for float fishing. So we would find a nice, thin, long piece of wood, and we would do little guides from wire, from steel wire. We would do tiny little guides. We would wrap the guides around the blank, and then we would fish with the rod and the guides, much like fly fishing. You kind of cast like this. You have something here to hold a little bit of line, and you cast it like this, and you can catch roach and some other species of the carp family like on every cast. That's the only thing we had in Bulgaria. But folks, let me tell you, the joy that I experienced as a kid in Bulgaria with that tackle. Occasionally I'll catch a tiny baby catfish, or I'll catch like a 2-pound carp. 2-pound carp in Bulgaria was like the pinnacle of achievement when I was a kid. A 2-pound carp. That was like, my gosh, if I caught a 2-pound carp, I go and tell every one of my friends in the neighborhood. I go and tell them all. I caught a 2-pound carp. That was an achievement. But folks, the joy and the happiness that I experienced as a kid catching these fish, if you could measure it objectively, I love fishing now. Fishing is so much more beautiful in the United States. I have so much nicer tackle, and I'm catching nicer fish. But my happiness is like, I still get happy, don't get me wrong, I get very happy. I appreciate every day. I appreciate every day of fishing, even little bluegill, don't get me wrong. But the excitement will never be the same. It will never be the same. And I guess my point is, those of you who are still younger, who don't enjoy fishing because you don't have the nice fishing rods and you don't have a boat yet, I'm telling you, one day you will have a boat, some kind of boat. Not everybody will have a fancy boat, but you can get a boat in the United States if you really want it. You can afford this rod is $150. You can buy Legalis for $65 and you have a high-end combo. But the older you get, the excitement and the emotion will not be the same. Yep. But you see what I'm working with here. That's what we're going to be catching today. That's what we're going to be catching today, folks. Look at this. This is a... Let me measure this fish. This fish is tiny. I'm not measuring for to convince you that I'm a great warrior. I'm measuring it, folks, just so we're more objective. Just so we're more objective. Okay, he's not as small as I thought. He's 6 3/4 if you stretch him. 6 3/4 if you stretch him. But really, he's only 6.5. Everybody who tells you they caught a 13-inch crappie, let me tell you, it was 12.5. It was 12.5. Look at this beautiful bank. I mean, these banks here in Tennessee are like, I guess you can say, designed by God. Look, look, look. Look at the color of the water, the color of the trees. I mean, if you're an artist and you make a painting, you cannot make a more beautiful painting. Look at this. I've told you several times, I do not hide my resentment to all kinds of government agencies. Government is always bad, but I don't know, folks. Do you really want to see a bunch of houses built here? I feel that these lakes, at least in Tennessee, if you want to build houses around some lake in Iowa or Nebraska, I don't think there is much harm, because I'd rather hear a beautiful summer house, beautiful mansion, than a cornfield. But here, I feel that some kind of law needs to be passed to protect these banks from real estate development, folks. Should it really be okay to bring the bulldozers and chop up everything and build a bunch of docks here to destroy all of these beds? Look at this bank. This bank should be national treasure, state treasure. These beautiful banks. I mean, there is so much land. There is so much land that nobody wants to build there. Like, there's so many little villages, there's so much empty land. Nobody wants to farm there, nobody wants to build there. I mean, they're gonna build 100 houses this year, but they're all gonna be destroying some kind of bank on some lake. Like, the only real estate we're doing is destroying some kind of beautiful landscape. I don't know, if you want to live on for me, these real estate developers, if you want to build houses on a lake, buy land, build a little lake, and then build houses around the lake. Don't come here and chop up the bank to make a few $1,000s. They don't even make that much money. I mean, they make a lot of money for you and me, but in the big scheme of things, they don't make that much money per house, folks. They can chop up this whole bank and they're gonna make a couple $1 million from all of this. What is a couple $1 million, folks? Like, destroying all of this for a couple $1 million. $2 million is a lot of money for you and me, but for a real estate company to destroy this entire bank just for $2 million is just a tragedy. This one might be 7 inches. See, the only question is, are we gonna catch even one 7-incher today? Might not. Let's see if we're gonna catch one 7-incher. That's okay. We're gonna do quite a few hit and runs here. We're gonna do some small beds. I'm gonna show you different sceneries just for your enjoyment and entertainment of aesthetics. I think this is the biggest one of this video. I'm not gonna be unhooking this. I'm not gonna be removing the hook. I want to see if I got at least one 7-incher. I understand this is not a trophy. I want to know, dude, if you want to go back, stay still. I want to see if there's our first 7-incher. Yeah. There's our first 7-incher. It's gonna be this kind of day today. We're gonna hop a few beds and just enjoy fishing here. You know, if you have this kind of super ultralight tackle, you can enjoy this. I mean, we have to create some kind of, I don't want to call it movement, because who are you to create movements? But if you have the right tackle, I mean, maybe I have eaten a few bluegills in my life, but I don't need the bluegill anyway. What difference does it make? Is it 8 inches or 7 inches? I guess it does make difference how they fight, but how they hit, let me tell you, how they hit is almost the same. These little bluegill with the ester line, they hit so nice in your hand. They hit very sharp. It's still very enjoyable fishing. There we go. I mean, I don't know how many of you, if anybody would fish with this rod and reel and this line and have this bluegill hit in his hands and tell me, man, that was not fun. That was not fun at all. It is fun, folks. We have to try to protect whatever few big bluegills are left in public water. To tell you the truth, if anything, bluegill in this lake should not be released. There is no shortage of bluegill here. There is clouds of thousands of bluegills. But even here, if you want to keep bluegill from this lake, you should just cast net them and keep them all. But you shouldn't, even in this lake, you shouldn't keep the ones that you catch on the bed. Because they might be small, they might be nothing, they might be 6 inches. But this is the best that this lake has. This lake doesn't have bigger bluegill. It doesn't. Maybe if you drain the whole lake, you're going to find a few big, but there is a biological reason why this lake doesn't have big bluegill. It has nothing to do with overfishing. I don't know anybody, I don't think anybody has harvested bluegill from here for eating. I'm sure some folks harvested them for bait, which I don't see nothing wrong with harvesting as many as you want from this lake for bait. You can harvest 1,000, and I don't think you did anything negative to the population of bluegill to this lake. You can harvest 1,000 of them. Just go cast a net somewhere and harvest them like this. Not from the beds, folks. Harvesting fish off the beds is very harmful. Yeah, they hit in tap, tap, tap. I wish there was audio from these hits. They hit in tap, 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 tap. They little, but they energetic. Look at the bend curve. Just absolutely gorgeous. This rod, I will tell you this, has more uniform bend curve than the Eradicator. Okay, you can take me to court about this statement. It has more uniform. I'm not going to even say what uniform means, but it has more uniform bend curve than the Eradicator. The Eradicator has a little defect. I don't know if I've ever told you, but somewhere around here, even though it's tubular tip, it feels like it's spliced because it bends one way to about here, And then there is, right here, there is a sharper bend, and then bends a different way at the very tip. But the eradicator has a little defect in the bend curve that you're not gonna see when you fish, but when I did the videos, I analyzed the images to see what kind of action it has. And the eradicator has a little bit of defect on the blank, and the bend curve is not uniform. This rod has a nicer bend curve than the eradicator. Also on the eradicator, the name Slow Taper Special is completely unjustified. That rod doesn't have a slow taper. Maybe slow taper compared to their other rods, but that rod is a fast action rod. It's not really parabolic. Like for example, a regular Daiwa $60 Daiwa Presso has slower action than the eradicator, but nobody calls the Presso Slow Taper Special. Fancy names, right? Nobody calls the Beleza prototype has a slower action than the eradicator, but nobody calls the Beleza Slow Taper Special. It's not that slow. If you're gonna call it Slow Taper Special, I expect a parabolic bend curve, and the eradicator definitely doesn't have a parabolic bend curve. It's nice, but it's fast or moderate fast, but it is not moderate, it's not parabolic. I have a whole bunch of rods with slower action than the eradicator. I think we have reached the point where fishing this bed any longer is not worth my time. There is still fish here, but this is kind of uncut video, and you can see in the beginning we were catching fish on every cast, and now these fish are a little bit, whatever is left of them, they are cautious. They're still tapping it, but they are cautious. So I think we catch one more fish. I got 3 taps here, pretty good taps, but they are cautious now. We catch one more fish out of here, folks, and off to the next one, off to the next beautiful bank. This lake, all of the banks are beautiful, all of them. The weird thing is there is good sized crappie on this lake. I've caught several 14 inchers, plenty of 13 inchers, and the average is at least 10 inches. Good sized crappie, very nice bass. I heard good sized catfish too, but the bluegill, something is suppressing them, but not humans. I don't have high opinion of humans, but in this case nobody over harvested these fish. Folks, that's enough for this video. I'm gonna publish it uncut. Off to the next bed. We're gonna do fast hit and runs this morning, and I can publish these pretty easy without editing. Thank you for your patience, for watching to the end, and I'll see you in just 15 minutes. Bye bye.